The great hall of the Galactic Conclave stretched for miles beneath the crystalline dome. Thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds gathered in their assigned sections, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. Some floated in methane bubbles, others stood on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure energy contained in magnetic fields. They had all come for one purpose: to decide what to do about the humans. Ambassador Chen Wei stood in the center of the vast chamber, feeling very small and very alone. She wore the blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps, and her hands were clasped behind her back to hide their trembling. Around her, the alien delegates whispered in thousands of languages, their words translated instantly by the neural implant behind her ear. "They are dangerous," a voice boomed across the hall. It belonged to High Arbiter Krexthen, a massive creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a tree. His voice was deep and filled with authority. "These humans have only just discovered faster-than-light travel, yet they already spread across their star system like a plague. They fight among themselves constantly. They poison their own world. They cannot be trusted." Chen felt her jaw tighten, but she remained silent. Protocol demanded she wait until addressed directly. "I agree," another delegate called out. This one was a floating jellyfish-like being called a Keshti. "Our studies show humans are irrationally violent. In their short history, they have fought over 15,000 wars. 15,000. Most species fight fewer than 100 before achieving peace." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Chen could feel the mood turning against her people. "Against Earth, if I may speak," Chen said, her voice amplified by the chamber's systems. "Humans have indeed struggled with violence, but we have also created great beauty. We have art, music, literature. We have learned to work together despite our differences. We came here in peace, hoping to join the galactic community as equals." "Equals?" Krexthen's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "You have barely left your own solar system. Our civilizations are millions of years old. You are children playing with fire, and we must decide whether to take the matches away before you burn down the galaxy." In the observation gallery high above the main floor, Velshara watched the proceedings with her large golden eyes. She was an archaeotech, a species known for their love of ancient history and forgotten knowledge. Her people were scientists and scholars, not warriors or politicians. She had come to observe the humans out of curiosity, nothing more. But something bothered her. During the initial scans of the human ship, the Prometheus, her instruments had detected something impossible. The energy signature in human DNA didn't match any known species. Instead, it matched something from her nightmares and dreams: the architects. The architects were a legend, a myth told to young archaeotech children. They were supposedly the first civilization, the beings who had walked the galaxy 50 million years ago, when most current species were still primitive sea creatures. The architects had built wonders beyond imagination, then vanished without a trace. Most scientists believed they were just stories, but Velshara had spent her life studying the few ruins attributed to the architects. She knew the legends were based on something real, and now, impossibly, she was seeing their energy signature in these primitive humans. It had to be a mistake, a sensor error. There was no way humans could be connected to the architects. She ran the scan again using different equipment. The results came back the same. Down in the chamber, the debate continued. A delegate from the Korthax Empire stood, his scaled body reflecting the light. "I propose we quarantine the human system. Place guardian fleets around their star. Let them develop for another 10,000 years before we allow them to leave." "I propose we do more," a synthesized voice crackled. It came from the Synthax, a machine intelligence that spoke for a collective of artificial beings. "We should take control of their technology, guide their development. They are too unstable to be left alone." Chen's face went pale. Quarantine or conquest, those were the options being discussed. Not friendship, not cooperation. She had come here hoping for so much more. "The Council will vote in 3 cycles," Krex then announced. "Until then, the human ship will remain in orbit. The human ambassador will be given quarters in the guest wing. That is all." The session ended and the delegates began to file out. Chen stood alone in the center of the massive chamber, feeling the weight of her entire species resting on her shoulders. She had failed. Earth's first contact with alien life was turning into a disaster. "Ambassador Chen," a soft voice said behind her. Chen turned to see a slender, graceful being approaching. She had 4 arms, golden eyes and skin that seemed to shimmer with a faint blue light. An archaeotech, Chen recognized from the briefing materials. "I am Velshara," the alien said, speaking in perfect English. "I am a xenoarchaeologist. I study ancient civilizations and extinct species." "A pleasure to meet you," Chen said, though she felt anything but pleased. "Have you come to tell me how primitive my people are?" "No," Velshara said quietly, looking around to make sure no one was listening. "I have come to tell you something impossible, something I barely believe myself." She pulled out a small device and projected a hologram into the air between them. It showed a DNA strand rotating slowly. Half of the image glowed blue, half glowed red. "The blue is human DNA," Velshara explained. "The red is a marker we have found in ruins across the galaxy. Ruins that are 50 million years old. Ruins built by the architects, the first civilization." Chen stared at the image. The two DNA patterns matched perfectly. "I don't understand," she said. "What does this mean?" "I do not know," Velshara admitted. "It should be impossible. Humans are not ancient. Your species evolved recently on your world. We have confirmed this. But somehow your DNA contains markers from the oldest civilization in the galaxy. Markers that should not exist in any living being." Chen felt a chill run down her spine. Could we be descended from them? Could the architects have visited Earth? "Perhaps," Velshara said. "Or perhaps something stranger is happening. I do not have answers yet, only questions. But Ambassador Chen, I believe this is important. Very important. If the Council knew about this, they might reconsider their position on humanity. Or they might see us as an even bigger threat," Chen said quietly. Velshara's golden eyes met Chen's dark brown ones. "That is also possible. Which is why we must be careful. I need time to investigate further, to understand what this connection means. Will you help me?" Chen looked at the hologram again, at the impossible matching patterns. Somewhere in humanity's past was a secret that connected them to the oldest mystery in the galaxy. "Yes," Chen said. "I'll help you. My people's future may depend on it." High above Earth, the Galactic Council's fleet began to move into position. Guardian ships, they were called. But Chen knew their other name, siege vessels. While diplomats talked, the military prepared for action. Time was running out, and Chen had no idea that the truth she was about to discover would shake the foundations of every civilization in the galaxy. The humans were not newcomers to the cosmic stage. They had been here all along. Velshara's laboratory was hidden in the lower levels of the conclave station, far from the political chambers and diplomatic halls. It was a cluttered space filled with ancient artifacts, holographic displays, and equipment that hummed with quiet energy. Chen stood beside a large table covered in star maps while Velshara worked at multiple screens simultaneously, her forearms moving in perfect coordination. "I have been searching the archaeological databases all night," Velshara said, her voice tight with exhaustion and excitement. "And I have found something remarkable. Every major architect site we have discovered on 17 different worlds contains traces of the same DNA markers found in humans." She pulled up images of ruins, massive structures of impossible geometry, buildings that seemed to defy physics, monuments carved from single pieces of stone the size of mountains. They spanned across the galaxy, left behind by a civilization that had vanished before most current species had even evolved. "These sites are not similar," Velshara continued. "They are identical at the molecular level. The same construction techniques, the same energy signatures, and now we know, the same biological traces, all leading back to one source. Humans," Chen whispered. "Or something that became human," Velshara corrected. "The timeline makes no sense. These ruins are 50 million years old. Humans have only existed for a few 100,000 years. Your own scientists have traced your evolution back to primitive apes on Earth. There was no advanced civilization in your past." Chen leaned against the table, her mind racing. Then how is this possible? Velshara's golden eyes flickered with an emotion Chen couldn't identify. Fear? Wonder? Perhaps both. "I have a theory, but it sounds insane. The architect sites all contain data storage, but we have never been able to access it. The encryption is beyond anything we understand. However, last night I tried something different." She pulled up a new screen showing complex mathematical equations. "I used human mathematical constants, pi, the golden ratio, base 10 counting systems, all things unique to human development." And Ambassador Chen, the encryption began to respond. Chen felt her heart race. "You cracked it?" "Only partially, but enough to access some files." Would you like to see what I found? Chen nodded, unable to speak. Velshara activated a holographic projector. The laboratory dissolved around them, replaced by another world. A city floated in the air above an alien landscape, held aloft by nothing Chen could see. Beings walked its streets and Chen gasped when she saw them clearly. They looked human. Not exactly the same, but close enough. Taller, with skin that glowed softly with inner light. Their eyes were larger, more expressive. But they had 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. They were unmistakably similar to humans. The architects, Velshara said softly. This is what they looked like. The hologram showed more scenes. Vast fleets of ships that moved between stars without engines. Beings who manipulated matter with their thoughts, reshaping reality like clay. Cities that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. A civilization so advanced that technology and biology had merged into something beyond comprehension. They were gods, Chen breathed. They were. Velshara agreed. They had achieved immortality. They could transfer their consciousness between bodies, between machines, between pure energy itself. They had conquered death, disease, entropy. They were perfect. The scene changed. Now the hologram showed a great gathering of the architects. Millions of them assembled in a space that seemed to exist outside normal reality. They were discussing something, debating with passionate gestures. I cannot hear what they are saying, Velshara admitted. The audio files are still encrypted, but I can see what happened next. The architects began to change. Their glowing skin dimmed. Their perfect bodies became more ordinary. One by one, they transformed themselves into something simpler, something lesser. The hologram flickered and showed a massive fleet of ships, each carrying thousands of modified architects in suspended animation. The ships scattered across the galaxy, heading to different worlds. They gave it up, Chen said in wonder. They gave up being gods. Yes, Velshara confirmed. But why? That is what I cannot understand. Why would beings with unlimited power, infinite life, and complete mastery over reality choose to become mortal again? Chen watched as one of the ships in the hologram approached a small blue world, Earth. The ship entered orbit and thousands of modified beings descended to the surface. The hologram ended. They went to Earth, Chen said. They regressed themselves and went to Earth. We're them. We're the architects who chose to forget. Velshara was quiet for a long moment. That is my theory, yes. But it creates more questions than answers. Why would they do this? And what happened to the architects who seeded the other worlds? Are they the ancestors of the other species in the galaxy? Chen felt dizzy with the implications. You're saying all the aliens in the conclave might be descended from the architects too? That humans aren't special, we're just one of many branches? Perhaps, Velshara said. Or perhaps humans are unique because Earth was the last seed world, the final regression. I need more data to be certain. A loud beeping interrupted their conversation. Velshara's eyes widened as she checked a screen. There is a problem. A big problem. What is it? The Galactic Council has voted. They decided not to wait 3 cycles. A fleet is being dispatched to Earth's solar system right now. 30 warships fully armed. They are calling it a protective observation force, but Ambassador Chen, I have seen the fleet composition. Those are siege ships. Ships designed to blockade and control. Chen felt her blood turn to ice. They're going to quarantine Earth. Or worse. Velshara said grimly. There is a strong faction in the Council that wants to take control of human technology before you become a threat. They plan to occupy your colonies, place observers in your governments, essentially end human independence. Chen slammed her fist on the table. We have to stop them. We have to show them this data. Prove that humans are connected to the architects. Maybe then they'll reconsider. No, Velshara said firmly. If we reveal this now without more proof, they will not believe us. They will call it a hoax, a desperate attempt by humans to save themselves. Worse, the Warhawks will argue that if humans are descendants of the architects, we are an even greater threat. Think about it, Ambassador. A species connected to beings who once ruled the galaxy? Some would want to destroy you before you remember your power. Chen wanted to argue, but she knew Velshara was right. The truth could hurt as much as it helped. Then what do? We need undeniable proof, Velshara said. The architect sites on other worlds are all dead. Their systems shut down. But there might be one place where the technology still functions. One of my colleagues discovered an anomaly on your Mars, beneath the mountain you call Olympus Mons. We detected strange readings there years ago but could never investigate because it was in human territory. You think there's an architect site on Mars? I am certain of it, Velshara said. And if it is still active, if it still has power, it might recognize human DNA. It might unlock for you. Inside could be the answers we need. Chen made her decision quickly. I'm going to Mars. I'll take the Prometheus and investigate. I am coming with you, Velshara said. This is my discovery, my research. Besides, you will need someone who can read architect technology. The council won't approve this, Chen warned. We'll be going against their orders. Velshara's expression was determined. Then we will ask for forgiveness later, after we save your species. Come, Ambassador. We have a long journey ahead, and your people are running out of time. As they prepared to leave, neither of them noticed the small surveillance device hidden in the laboratory's ceiling. Someone had been watching. Someone now knew about the architect connection, and that someone had plans of their own. The Prometheus broke through the thin Martian atmosphere, its engines leaving trails of fire against the pink sky. Chen sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls despite the fear churning in her stomach. Beside her, Velshara studied the sensor readings with intense focus. The anomaly is directly beneath Olympus Mons, Velshara said, 3 kilometers underground. The energy signature is unlike anything I have seen before. It is still active after 50 million years. Chen guided the ship toward the massive volcano, the largest mountain in the solar system. Its peak rose 21 kilometers above the Martian surface, dominating the landscape. Somewhere beneath it, hidden in the red stone, lay answers that could change everything. The Council fleet will reach Earth's orbit in 48 hours, Chen said quietly. We're running out of time. Then we must hurry, Velshara replied. But something strange was happening on Earth, thousands of kilometers away. In cities and villages across the planet, humans were experiencing the same dream. In Tokyo, a businessman fell asleep on the subway and dreamed of walking through cities that floated in clouds. In Cairo, a young girl woke up crying, speaking words in a language that hadn't been heard for 50 million years. In New York, an artist suddenly painted images of alien landscapes she had never seen, her hands moving as if controlled by memory rather than imagination. The dreams were spreading like a virus, jumping from person to person. They all showed the same things, memories of being something more than human, memories of a civilization that had spanned galaxies, memories of making a choice to give it all away. Dr. Sarah Martinez, a neuroscientist working for the United Nations, was among the first to notice the pattern. She stood in her laboratory in Geneva, staring at brain scan data from thousands of people around the world. All of them showed the same unusual activity in regions of the brain normally dormant. This is impossible, she muttered, pulling up more data. It's like something is waking up inside people's minds, something that's been asleep for a very long time. Her assistant, a young man named James, looked over her shoulder. Could it be some kind of alien influence? Maybe the Galactic Council is doing something to us? No, Sarah said slowly. This is coming from within. It's in our DNA in the deepest parts of our genetic code. It's like an alarm clock that's been set for 50 million years and it's finally going off. On Mars, Chen and Velshara had reached the excavation point. They wore environmental suits and carried powerful digging equipment. The red sand of Mars swirled around them in the thin wind as they descended into a deep crater on the volcano's flank. The entrance should be right below us, Velshara said. Consulting her instruments, they dug for hours, removing layers of rock and sediment. Then Chen's shovel struck something that rang like metal. They cleared away more debris, revealing a smooth surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Architect material, Velshara breathed. I have only seen this in the oldest ruins. It does not age, does not wear, does not break. Chen placed her gloved hand against the surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the material began to glow with a soft blue light that spread outward from her touch like ripples in water. It recognizes you, Velshara said in amazement. It knows your DNA. The surface dissolved, revealing a tunnel that descended into darkness. Chen and Velshara exchanged glances, then stepped forward into the ancient structure. The tunnel led down and down, deep into the heart of Mars. The walls glowed with the same blue light, providing illumination without any visible source. The air inside was breathable, maintained by systems that had run without failure for 50 million years. They walked for what felt like hours before the tunnel opened into a vast chamber. Chen stopped in her tracks, unable to process what she was seeing. The chamber was the size of a small city. Thousands of crystalline columns rose from floor to ceiling, each one pulsing with inner light. In the center of the chamber stood a massive sphere of pure energy, crackling with power that Chen could feel in her bones. A data archive, Velshara whispered, the largest I have ever encountered. This much storage could contain the entire history of a civilization. As they approached the sphere, it suddenly contracted and took form. A being made of light materialized before them. It was humanoid in shape, with features that reminded Chen of the architects from Velshara's hologram. "Welcome home," the being said in perfect English. Its voice was kind, gentle, and infinitely sad. "I am the Keeper. I have waited so long for your return." Chen found her voice. "Who are you? What is this place?" "I am the memory of what you were," the Keeper replied. "I am the guardian of the truth you chose to forget." "You have come seeking answers, Ambassador Chen Wei. You wish to know why humanity shares DNA with the ancient architects. The answer is simple: you are the architects. You have always been the architects. You simply chose to forget." Velshara stepped forward. "But why? Why would beings of such power give it all away?" The Keeper turned to face her. "Because we had become hollow. We had achieved everything, conquered every challenge, solved every mystery. We were immortal, all-powerful, and utterly, completely bored. We had forgotten what it meant to struggle, to grow, to change. We had forgotten what it meant to be alive." The Keeper gestured, and the chamber filled with images. The architects in their glory, creating wonders with casual ease. But Chen could see the truth in their eyes. They were empty. They went through the motions of existence without truly living. "We had a great debate," the Keeper continued, "one that lasted for 1,000 years. Some wanted to end our existence entirely. Others wanted to continue as we were. But a third group proposed something radical, the Great Regression Protocol. You chose to become mortal again," Chen said. "More than that," the Keeper replied. "We chose to forget everything we had been. We modified our DNA, suppressing our abilities, limiting our potential. Then we seeded ourselves across the galaxy on 100 different worlds. Each group would evolve separately, developing unique cultures and abilities. The hope was that someday, when we met again, we would be different enough to be interesting to each other." "The other alien species," Velshara breathed. "They are all architects too?" "All descended from the same source, yes," the Keeper confirmed. "Modified, evolved, changed by millions of years in different environments. You are all children of the architects. You are all family, though you have forgotten it." Chen felt tears streaming down her face. Earth was one of the seed worlds. We're the descendants of architects who chose to start over. "You are more than that," the Keeper said gently. "Earth was the last seed world, the final group of architects who underwent the regression. You are the closest to the original template, Ambassador Chen. That is why the other species see humanity as dangerous. On a genetic level, they recognize you as the parent species, even if they do not consciously understand why." "Can you prove this?" Chen asked urgently. "Can you show evidence that would convince the Galactic Council?" "I can do more than that," the Keeper said. "I can restore your memories. I can give back what was taken away. I can make humanity into the architects again with all the power and knowledge that entails." Chen felt a thrill of excitement, followed immediately by doubt. "What would that cost us?" The Keeper's expression grew sad. "Everything that makes you human. The architects gave up their power because it made them empty. If you reclaim it, you will lose your mortality, your struggle, your capacity for growth. You will become what we were, perfect, powerful, and hollow. Is that what you want, Ambassador? To trade your humanity for godhood?" Before Chen could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. Velshara checked her communicator, her face going pale. "The Council fleet has arrived early," she said urgently. "They are not alone. Extremist groups from multiple species have joined them. Chen, they are not coming to quarantine Earth. They are coming to destroy it. Someone leaked the information about humanity's connection to the architects, and they have convinced enough delegates that humans are an existential threat." The Keeper turned to Chen. "The choice is yours, Ambassador. I can give you the power to defend your world. But you must decide quickly. Will you remain human, or will you become what you once were?" Chen looked at the Keeper, then at Velshara, then at the ancient chamber around her. 50 million years ago, her ancestors had given up everything to have the chance to be human. Now she had to decide whether to throw that gift away. The fate of Earth and perhaps the entire galaxy rested on her answer. Earth hung in the darkness of space like a blue jewel, beautiful and fragile. Around it, hundreds of warships took up positions. The fleet was larger than anyone had expected. Word of humanity's connection to the architects had spread like wildfire across the galaxy, and fear had driven species after species to join the assault. Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship Defiant, watching the enemy fleet assemble. His hands gripped the command console so tightly his knuckles had turned white. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Joint Fleet," his communications officer said. "They're demanding Earth's immediate surrender." Rodriguez felt sick. His ship was one of 20 that Earth could field. 20 ships against hundreds. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. "Tell them we're still waiting for word from Ambassador Chen," Rodriguez said, even though he knew it was hopeless. "Buy us whatever time you can." On Mars, Chen stood frozen in the Keeper's chamber. The weight of the decision pressed down on her like a physical force. Around her, the crystalline pillars pulsed with increasing urgency, as if sensing the danger approaching Earth. "How much power are we talking about?" she asked the Keeper. "If I accept, what could I do?" The Keeper's form flickered. "With full restoration, you would have access to technologies that could destroy entire fleets with a thought. You could manipulate matter at the atomic level, fold space itself, control energy in its purest form. You would be able to save your world easily." "But I wouldn't be human anymore," Chen said quietly. "You would be what you were always meant to be," the Keeper replied. "What you were before you chose limitation." Velshara touched Chen's arm gently. "There must be another way." The architects were brilliant. Surely they left options, alternatives. The Keeper was quiet for a moment, then nodded slowly. "There is a middle path. I can unlock partial access to the architect legacy. Not full restoration, but enough knowledge and technology to give humanity a fighting chance. You would retain your humanity, your mortality, your capacity for growth, but you would have tools to defend yourselves." "What's the catch?" Chen asked. "The knowledge would be permanent," the Keeper explained. "Once unlocked, it cannot be forgotten again. Humanity would have to carry the responsibility of that knowledge forever. And knowledge, Ambassador, is a burden as much as a gift. The architects learned this too late." Chen thought of Earth, of the billions of people living their lives unaware of the danger approaching. She thought of her mother in Beijing, her brother in Rio, the children playing in parks and schools around the world. They deserved a chance to live, to grow, to become whatever humanity was meant to be. "Give us the partial access," she said firmly. "We'll take the knowledge and the responsibility that comes with it. We'll defend ourselves as humans, not as resurrected gods." The Keeper smiled, and for the first time the expression seemed genuinely happy. "You have chosen well, Ambassador. Your ancestors would be proud. They feared that humanity would seek power above all else. You have proven them wrong." The Keeper raised its arms and the chamber exploded with light. Chen felt information flooding into her mind, vast and overwhelming. Schematics for technologies Earth had never dreamed of. Understanding of physics that rewrote everything she thought she knew. Access to systems hidden throughout the solar system for 50 million years. But she also felt something else. A connection to every other human alive. The awakening was spreading. Across Earth, people were experiencing the same transformation. Not full architect restoration, but an unlocking of potential that had always been there, dormant in their DNA. Dr. Martinez in Geneva suddenly understood the equations for faster-than-light communication. A mechanic in Detroit instinctively knew how to reconfigure his tools into a weapon that could disable alien shields. A teenager in Mumbai found herself able to interface directly with computer systems using only her mind. Humanity was waking up, and the galaxy was about to learn what that meant. "Velshara," Chen said, her voice strange even to her own ears, "I need you to get a message to the fleet. Tell them to stand down, to give Earth one chance to speak." "Can you do that?" Velshara looked at her friend, seeing the change in her eyes. Chen was still human, but something ancient and powerful now moved beneath the surface. "I will try," she promised. They raced back through the tunnels to the Prometheus. As they reached the ship, Chen felt a surge of connection to systems all across Mars. Defense platforms buried beneath the red sand for millions of years suddenly powered up. Weapons that could shatter moons locked onto the approaching fleet. But Chen didn't activate them. Not yet. The Prometheus launched from Mars and accelerated toward Earth at speeds that should have been impossible. Chen sat in the pilot's seat. But she wasn't really flying the ship anymore. She was communing with it, asking it to move, and it responded like an extension of her will. They reached Earth's orbit in minutes instead of hours. The fleet surrounding Earth had grown even larger. Chen counted over 500 warships now, including some from species she had thought were peaceful. "This is Ambassador Chen Wei to all vessels," she broadcast on all frequencies. "I am requesting a ceasefire and an opportunity to address the fleet commanders. What is about to happen doesn't have to be war. Please give me a chance to explain." For a long moment there was only silence. Then a voice responded. It was High Arbiter Krex then, and he sounded different. Afraid. "We know what you are now, Ambassador," he said. "We know you are descendants of the architects. We cannot allow you to remember your power. We cannot allow you to become what you once were." "We don't want to become what we once were," Chen replied. "The architects gave up their power because it made them empty. We understand that now. We're not trying to reclaim godhood. We just want to live." "Then why have defense systems across Mars suddenly activated?" Krex then demanded. "Why are we detecting power signatures from architect weapons platforms throughout your solar system? You say you want peace, but you prepare for war." Chen took a deep breath. This was the moment. "Those systems activated because I asked them to. I have been given partial access to the architect legacy. Not full restoration, just enough to defend ourselves. And yes, we could use those weapons. We could destroy your entire fleet right now. But we won't. Because that's not who we are." Another voice cut in, filled with hatred. "This is Commander Zexthor of the Supremacy Coalition. We will not be threatened by primitive apes pretending to be gods." "All ships, open fire! No!" Krex then shouted, but it was too late. 36 ships broke from the main fleet and opened fire on Earth. Missiles streaked through space, carrying enough destructive power to crack continents. Chen watched them approach, feeling time slow down around her. She could stop them easily. The defense platforms were ready. The ancient weapons could turn those ships to dust. But if she did, the rest of the fleet would attack. Earth would be saved, but the galaxy would be at war. There had to be another way. Chen reached out with her newly awakened abilities, feeling the connections that the Keeper had shown her. Every species in the galaxy was descended from the architects. Every species carried the same dormant potential in their DNA. They had all forgotten, but the truth was still there, buried deep. She broadcast a signal, using technology that worked on a level far below normal communication. A signal that spoke directly to genetic memory, to the oldest parts of alien minds. "Remember," she whispered. "Remember what we were. Remember why we chose to forget. Remember that we are all family." Across the fleet, something impossible happened. Alien commanders suddenly experienced memories that weren't their own. They saw the architects in their glory, saw the decision to regress, saw the hope that someday their descendants would find each other and recognize their shared heritage. The missiles heading for Earth suddenly detonated harmlessly in space. The ships that had fired them went silent, their crews overwhelmed by the weight of recovered memory. "What have you done?" Krex then asked, his voice shaking. "I've reminded you of the truth," Chen said gently. "You are architects too. All of you. You evolved differently, developed unique cultures and abilities, but at the core we share the same origin. We are not enemies. We are family who forgot we were related." Belshara was crying, her forehands covering her face. "I remember," she sobbed. "I remember choosing to become archaeotech, to forget the past so we could discover it again. It was beautiful. It was brave." Across the fleet, similar reactions were occurring. Some aliens wept. Others stood in stunned silence, still others felt joy at understanding their true heritage. But not everyone welcomed the revelation. Commander Zexthor's voice cut through the emotional moment like a knife. "I don't care about ancient history," he snarled. "I don't care if we were once the same species. I care about power, and humans have it. We will take it from them, or we will destroy them. All Supremacy Coalition vessels prepare to fire on Earth. Maximum yield. We end this now." Chen felt her heart sink. Even the truth wasn't enough to stop hatred and fear. The fleet was splitting, some ships standing down, others preparing for attack. Civil war was about to erupt in Earth's orbit. And in the middle of it all, humanity waited to see if they would survive their first day knowing the truth. The space around Earth erupted into chaos. Ships from the Supremacy Coalition, still determined to destroy humanity, fired everything they had. Energy beams capable of vaporizing cities cut through the darkness. Missiles large enough to shatter continents streaked toward the blue planet below. On Earth, billions of people looked up at the sky, knowing that death was coming. Some prayed. Some held their loved ones. Some simply stood in defiance. They had learned the truth about their heritage only moments ago, and now they might not live long enough to understand what it meant. Chen felt the weight of their fear, their hope, their determination to survive. The partial awakening had connected her to all of humanity in ways she was still learning to understand. She could feel them, sense their emotions, and they could feel her resolve. "Keeper," she said urgently, speaking to the AI consciousness still present in her mind. "I need more. Not full restoration, but something. Please, my people are about to die." "You already have everything you need," the Keeper replied calmly. The Architect's greatest power was never their technology. It was their ability to inspire others, to bring out the best in those around them. "Trust your people, Chen. Trust what they are becoming." Chen wanted to argue, but there was no time. The first wave of missiles would impact in seconds. She reached out with her enhanced abilities, not to the defense platforms, but to the humans on Earth and the human ships in orbit. "We are the children of gods who chose to be mortal," she broadcast to every human consciousness. "They gave up eternity to give us the chance to live, to struggle, to grow. Now it's our turn to show them their sacrifice wasn't in vain. Fight. Not as gods, but as humans. Show the galaxy what that means." On the Defiant, Captain Rodriguez felt something surge through him. Knowledge flowed into his mind, understanding of his ship's systems at a level he'd never imagined. Around him, his crew experienced the same awakening. The weapons officer suddenly knew how to recalibrate their missiles to pierce alien shields. The engineer understood how to coax 3 times normal power from their engines. The tactical officer could see patterns in the enemy fleet's formation that had been invisible moments before. "All ships," Rodriguez called out, his voice strong and clear. "Follow my lead. Let's show them what humans can do." The 20 Earth ships, tiny compared to the alien armada, suddenly moved with a coordination and precision that seemed impossible. They weren't just reacting anymore. They were anticipating, predicting, dancing through space like they had been born to it. The Defiant rolled beneath a beam that would have cut it in half, fired its missiles at exactly the right moment to catch 3 enemy ships in a perfect formation, then accelerated into a position that should have been suicide, but instead gave them a perfect firing angle on a carrier vessel. Across Earth, the awakening was spreading faster. People who had never touched a weapon suddenly understood combat tactics. Scientists made breakthrough discoveries in real time, creating new technologies from the knowledge flooding their minds. Engineers modified civilian ships into fighting vessels with nothing but intuition and determination. But Chen knew it wouldn't be enough. The Supremacy Coalition had too many ships, too much firepower. Humanity was fighting brilliantly, but they were still going to lose. She needed allies. "Velshara," Chen said, turning to her friend. "You remembered the truth. Others in the fleet remembered too. Can you reach them? Can you convince them to help?" Velshara's golden eyes met Chen's. "I will try. But Chen, many of them are afraid. Afraid of what humanity might become if you fully awaken. Afraid of the Architects returning." "Then we show them we don't want to return," Chen said firmly. "We show them we choose to remain human." Velshara nodded and began broadcasting on archaeotech frequencies, speaking quickly in her native language. At the same time, Chen reached out to the ships that had stood down, the ones whose crews had been moved by the recovered memories. "We don't ask you to fight for us," she said. "We ask you to fight for the truth." The Architects made a choice 50 million years ago. They chose evolution over stagnation, mortality over immortality, growth over perfection. The Supremacy Coalition wants to erase that choice, to destroy the last descendants of the original Architects out of fear. Don't let fear win. Help us prove that the Architects' sacrifice meant something. For a long moment, nothing happened. The battle raged on, human ships fighting desperately against overwhelming odds. The Defiant took a direct hit, its shields failing, atmosphere venting from a breach in the hull. Captain Rodriguez refused to give up, steering his crippled ship into a ramming course with an enemy dreadnought. Then everything changed. A massive ship broke from the main fleet and positioned itself between Earth and the Supremacy Coalition. It was an archaeotech vessel, one of the largest in the galaxy. Felshara's people had made their choice. "This is Scholar Captain Trenvex of the Archaeotech Assembly," a voice boomed across all frequencies. "We stand with Earth, we stand with our cousins. We stand with those who choose life over fear." More ships broke formation. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Species who had remembered their true heritage, who had felt the weight of the architect's original decision, who chose to honor that sacrifice rather than fear its consequences. The battle lines reformed. It was no longer the galaxy against Earth. It was those who embraced the past against those who feared it. High Arbiter Krex then found himself in an impossible position. The fleet he had led was now split, civil war erupting among species that had been allies for thousands of years. And in the middle of it all, the humans fought with a ferocity and skill that defied their supposed primitive nature. He watched as a single human fighter pilot, probably experiencing the awakening for the first time, outmaneuvered 6 Supremacy Coalition interceptors and destroyed them all. He saw human scientists broadcasting new shield configurations to allied ships in real time, adapting their technology on the fly. He witnessed human commanders coordinating with alien allies they had met only hours ago, forming strategies that worked despite a complete lack of shared military doctrine. This was what the architects had hoped for, not a return to godhood but the emergence of something new, something that combined the best of what they had been with, the best of what their descendants had become. "Ceasefire," Krex then ordered his ships. "All units cease fire immediately." "You coward," Commander Zexthor screamed. "We have them. We can still win!" "Win what?" Krex then shot back. "Even if we destroy Earth, we'll have to fight half the fleet to do it." "And for what? Because we're afraid of our own heritage? Because we can't accept the truth about where we came from? No, this ends now." But Zexthor wasn't listening. His ship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons, broke from the Coalition fleet and made a suicide run toward Earth. Its engines glowed white-hot as it accelerated beyond safe limits. Zexthor was going to ram the planet itself, willing to die if it meant taking humanity with him. Chen saw it happening and felt the defense platforms on Mars lock onto the dreadnought. She could destroy it with a thought. The ancient weapons were charged and ready. All she had to do was give the command, but she hesitated. If she used the architect weapons now, she would prove every fear about humanity correct. She would show that humans were willing to embrace godlike power when threatened. Everything they had fought for, everything they had tried to prove would be meaningless. "Captain Rodriguez," she called out. "Can you stop that ship?" Rodriguez looked at his tactical display, running calculations in his mind with enhanced speed. The dreadnought was massive, heavily armored, and moving at incredible velocity. His ship was crippled, its weapons nearly depleted, its shields at 10%. There was only one way to stop it. "Yes," he said quietly, "I can stop it." His crew understood immediately what he meant. They all felt it through the strange connection the awakening had created. Rodriguez was going to ram the dreadnought, sacrifice the Defiant and everyone on board to save Earth. "Captain, no," Chen said. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Rodriguez replied calmly. "And that's okay, Ambassador. You asked what it means to be human. This is what it means. We protect each other. We sacrifice for those who come after us. We choose mortality because it makes every moment, every choice, every sacrifice mean something. The architects understood that. Now we do too." The Defiant changed course, its damaged engines screaming in protest. Rodriguez pushed them beyond their limits, knowing they would fail, but needing just a few more seconds of thrust. His crew worked together with perfect coordination, diverting every spare bit of power to the engines, preparing for impact. "Tell Earth we did our duty," Rodriguez said. "Tell them we chose to be human until the very end." The Defiant struck the dreadnought at a combined velocity that released as much energy as a small nuclear bomb. Both ships disappeared in a flash of light that briefly rivaled the sun. The explosion was so massive that it shook every vessel in orbit. When the light faded, the dreadnought was gone. So was the Defiant. So was Captain Rodriguez and his entire crew. The battle stopped. Both sides, shocked by what they had witnessed, held their fire. In that moment of silence, Chen broadcast one final message to the entire fleet.